We're so excited to be back for another episode of Saturday Night Later. I'm Marina. I'm here with my co-host Madeline Baldanzi, the Substack My Comedy Fantasy, and with us today is our guest co-host Niccolo Aeed. So Nico, you've seen his work everywhere: The Moth, the UCB, The New Yorker. He and I have written together for 20 years at this point. Actually, all three of us
Whoa!
have written together for 20 years at
I think we
various
have one more
points.
year before it's 20 years. No, I guess 2026. Yeah, it has to be. It's the September of 2026.
Okay. So we've written together for 19 and a half years.
We're old.
Wild.
We're old, and
I
this
know.
episode made me feel old.
Yes, I actually think that's honestly a perfect segue into this episode. There's so much to discuss. This is the episode hosted by Finn Wolfhard, musical guest A$AP Rocky. And so basically what we're going to do is what we always do, which is we're chatting through each sketch one at a time. And usually you learn about sketch comedy from watching sketches, seeing what works, what doesn't work. It's hard for everybody to collectively see the same live shows because, usually those are in small theaters, but we can all watch Saturday Night Live and learn from the sketches together. So we're going to talk about them sort of as though they're being performed by colleagues and, not tearing it apart like in an internet-y kind of way, but we're just really trying to get to the meat of the structure, what works, what doesn't. And I'm very excited. I think there was some stuff that worked well and some stuff that really did not work this episode. And I can't wait to just chat it out. So first, just general first overall impressions of the episode. What do you guys generally think before we dive into the specific sketches?
I thought it was a pretty lower to mid to lower, I should say,
Yeah.
episode.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it also made me feel old. Sometimes I'm reminded that SNL, like your favorite moment of SNL is when you're watching it when you're 12 or whatever. That's your favorite cast.
Mm-hmm.
And I for some sketches felt like I didn't know the references or whatnot, and it made me feel a little distant from it. And then I guess like sketch like structure notes was like things could have been a little clearer about the game, but that's an annoying note, and we'll talk about it more later.
Yeah, fair, totally fair, awesome. Yeah, Madeline, what about you? What did you think?
I just felt like you could tell the episode really, really wanted Shane or Ilya to be the host, and they just got Stranger Things, and that they had to deal with that. But it was longing to be a heated rivalry episode. There was nothing they could do.
No, what can you do? Yeah. Okay, awesome. Well, I'm very excited to just jump on in and chat through it. So let's go ahead and start with their cold open, right? So this was press conference from Trump, kind of a welcome back, if you will. Madeline, what are you thinking? I see you looking off into the distance.
Oh, it's just funny because I accidentally started watching a different episode, the Kristi Noem cold open episode, and I actually can't remember which one was the one from today.
Oh, this one.
Oh, this one was.
Yeah.
This
They're
one
so
was.
similar.
They're so similar. They're often kind of just like a couple highlights of remember this happened this past week or these past couple weeks. This Trump is speaking, and then he gives some time to Marco Rubio to speak. He gives some time for JD Vance to speak, and then we get the return of Pete Hegseth for a bit. So it's like four kind of
and Kristi Noem as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, right. There's four kind of character pieces. I think everyone's tired of it, and it's not like biting satire. It's just and especially I think there's something that like in sketches that like when we can see the footage of they making a joke about Trump like walking to the window kind of aimlessly, and like that's just funnier when you see the real clip and when it's in real life. In sketch, it feels like a pale comparison. It doesn't feel heightened enough because the world's already heightened and little
They could have made that the game of like what is he doing or thinking about, like they could have dialed down and made that the whole cold open, but the character parade is what we're always going to get. So
and do people know about gay? Do you define gay? You don't define gay each time.
No, I will. We can completely redefine it now. Basically, we're talking about what is the primary unusual thing that we're playing with and having fun with in a sketch and exploring from different angles.
It's like a repeatable pattern for the I guess audience, like a repeatable pattern. And I guess the notes from UCB is like focus on a singular pattern, while like the opening sketch is always a bunch of new characters coming out quickly.
Yeah,
without
kind of a reference,
a single cohesive
pattern
to it.
more of like a reference-y grab bag kind of thing. I will say that for this cold open, because I agree, I'm sort of like a little over the Trump stuff that isn't satire. I'm extremely over it. But I will say at least this one thing that I will say about this one that it did have that the other ones I think have not had is at least there were very clearly defined structural beats of it, of like this person's coming and talking and then they're leaving. This person's coming and talking and then they're leaving. And I think that hasn't been true of as many of these Trump cold opens this season. There's been a little bit of like, okay, like when is this thing gonna end? When are we gonna move on? So at least I think it was like structurally tidier. And I think that some of the specifics I liked. But again, yeah, I feel like this kind of just runs out of steam for me. Usually the cold open.
I have to say the Colin, what's his name? Colin Jost. I was gonna say Hanks. Colin Jost's Pete Hegseth is winning me over. I am kind of charmed by that broy guy.
That's interesting. That's
like the detail that he walked to with all those jugs of like water and protein shakes. Like I think that character's I think winning me over. I don't like the Marco Rubio. The game of Marco Rubio seems to be he's like being bullied by Trump, and I don't like that because I think he's bad in his own right, you know. And so I think sometimes these things don't necessarily have an opinion on these people.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't feel like there was much of an opinion on Marco Rubio, not as much of an opinion on JD Vance. Kristi Noem, I thought, was very clear, like pretty clear impression, a sense of who she is. But yeah, it's with these ones. I mean, with the cold opens, as we discussed, it's like often like kind of the least gamey. They're the expectations of the least gaminess of any of them, and it really is just sort of grab bag specifics. I'm not even really sure I had that much more to say about this cold open. Just like it was sort of the references happened. There were some like the impression is impressive, but also it's just like a little worn out at this point. So with that, shall we move on to the awesome, great. Okay, so let's move to the monologue. Okay, so the monologue I actually found the kind of charming. There was a little bit of it kind of broke it up into little sections, and then I would say that there was sort of half of the monologue was the game of like the I'm a man describing himself as like I'm a man now, but in ways that are kind of childish, right? What did you guys think of the monologue and how that went?
I liked it. I'm not the biggest Finn Wolfhard fan. I don't know, but I have watched Stranger Things the whole time, and I think what this did nicely for the episode, I said kind of like maybe got it acquitted a bit, is that like I kind of want to see Finn Wolfhard take a laugh. I liked it when those other Stranger Kids thing, and then they had some like it's been 10 years of people commenting on my body over the internet. And like it's like, oh, that's gotta mean like have a fun SNL.
Yeah.
Because my immediate thought is to make a joke about how he's like a knockoff Chalamet or something, but it's like, don't do that. Let the kid have his fun. And then the sketches where it seemed like he was having fun in them satisfied that like I know this is a fun dynamic that's gonna happen. His monologue won me over.
Yeah, totally. I thought it was very charming. Yeah, how about you, Madeline? What did you think?
I liked the specific that he found the tequila spicy because that is exactly what a toddler says about things they don't like. Really spot on. I thought it could have heightened a bit more or gotten a little bit more specific in the ways in which he was childish, but it had a game.
Yep.
It had a game and that paid off.
Yeah. I think it was funny. It was just sort of like the amount of time that was spent on it was not as I think that if it had taken a higher percentage of the monologue, I think maybe it would have been more gamey or more there would have been more beats or specifics, but for how contained it was basically just sort of like the specifics were the beats kind of. There wasn't much like active playing the game really.
The vagina being the Stranger Things creature made me laugh.
That was yeah, that was funny. Yeah, there was there were I'm getting ahead of myself. Yeah, okay. Should we move on from the monologue to the first sketch of the night? Okay, yeah, Madeline, you're clasping your face. I agree with you. Okay, so this is the Snack Homies sketch. So basically, it's a kids podcast where they talk about their favorite snacks. This is the second iteration of this sketch. I at first thought, Madeline, that I was playing the wrong episode because I was like, oh, Sabrina Carpenter's here too. But so before we Before the last time we discussed a Snack Homie sketch, I did not know at the time, I only learned after, that it is a real podcast, that real kids do, and it was basically taking, like, word for word just what the podcast is.
There's no joke. This time I was aware there was no joke.
Yeah. And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't give that a Quixit. Like, I mean, I think it's like this is one of the sketches that made me feel old, and it's like maybe it's a reference to something, or maybe it's just like it seems to me if I was to say the game, it's like what if 12-year-olds hosted a podcast? But that's not enough of an unusual thing. There's not enough of a take on it. And then then it's just them doing kind of like kid podcast things, but that's just what
That's
happens.
what kids do.
Like
completely.
And the kid with Finn Wolfhard was a kind of a separate thing that they were trying to go on, but didn't really work because that felt like normal for a podcast for someone to be an idiot and talk like that.
Yeah.
When ASAP Rocky came in, I thought there was an opportunity to be a good, like, these 12-year-olds bring on this rap star and are like, you're married to Rihanna. What's it like to kiss a girl? Or like, you know what I mean? Like, they could have just like,
that would have been funny.
What's the reality of these 12-year-olds and how could one of the guests break that reality?
Yeah.
Or make it weird, but nothing is unusual. It's
totally.
Just a very usual podcast. They don't do heightened things during it. They talk like children, and so there's nothing to be.
Yeah,
and it's literally almost a transcript of the real podcast.
Yeah,
maybe if I was 12, I'd think it's funnier because it's like, oh man, they nailed those guys. But like, even still, it's just like you could hear this on any YouTube podcast platform.
I think this is what we talked about last time, even before we learned that it was like a reference to real thing. We're like, oh, it's just setting up a continuous based reality, and there's never a thing that happens in it, right? Like nothing actually. There's nothing unusual. Nothing unusual happens, and I think that like. Okay, I was trying to figure out the cousin who's there. I was like, at first I was like, okay, are they gonna have some sort of friction come up from the cousin being there? But that didn't become a thing.
The difference between 16-year-olds and 12-year-olds, could be funny. There's something
like,
there, but
something like that. I think that was
but that kid just stalked like a guest podcaster rather than his cousin. Or there's no gimmicks that you could jump off of.
Yeah.
Like if we were 12-year-olds having a podcast and 16-year-olds, I could imagine the 16-year-olds like, here are nunchucks. And the 12-year-olds are like, cool, nunchucks. What else do you know about? Have you seen a firecracker before? Well, but like, as Madeline, you said, they don't explore the difference in those ages. He just acts like a podcaster.
It feels like, and I think that a useful takeaway from this sketch is, it's basically like when you are if you're doing a parody of something, or if you're trying to, which is, I think is almost sort of what they're going for. It's like, you have to be careful that you're not just writing a spec script of the original thing. And this was just kind of, as Madeline was saying, like basically a transcript of the kind of a thing that actually exists. And so you're just watching, like, even if the performances are fun to watch, it's like it's not really, nothing is heightened. There's no wrinkle that you've introduced to like make it into anything else. So it is just basically a spec script. Like, you may as well just watch the original Snack Homies.
And even ASAP Rocky was there to promote rap snacks. And it's like, oh, that's not
that
unusual.
Was maybe real. I was like, is he really promoting this?
Is it just a commercial at this point?
I buy the snacks.
Is it? Is it real?
Rap snacks are definitely real. Yeah. Wait, you know about rap snacks?
No,
those are real. I don't know if ASAP Rocky's invested in them, but they're like hot chips or whatever, regular chips, but with like rappers' faces on them to promote them. They're
wild. Okay, well that's
my mind is blown. But I was gonna say too, like, if you feel like your genre parody is approaching spec script territory, just pick something about the thing you're watching that you either really love or don't like, and turn that into the game. Like, have an opinion about what you're lovingly making fun of. And it's like, it's better to parody something you love. Like, I would love to parody Heated Rivalry right now. I'd love to. But you have to have some opinion. And there's just no, I couldn't tell what the writer even thinks about this show.
Yeah. So here's something I quickly want to float before we move on to the next sketch. Because I was perusing Reddit. I was trying to figure out if the cousin and like talking about face shape was also a reference to something. It was kind of bringing vague bell for me that like something.
I think they're like toxic men podcasts to talk about like how to shape your face and shape your body.
Okay, so just like a general thing. Okay, but as I was perusing Reddit, somebody wrote something that I was like, I was excited to discuss with you guys. They were like, if you don't like this, you're overseeing the fact that you're overlooking the fact that this is basically Wayne's World, but for modern kids. And I bristled at that. How I bristled.
Oh, certainly. That's certainly a wrong opinion on so many levels. Both Wayne and Garth are full characters that you could name very quickly. They have a format to their structure. They have opinions on what they talk about. They have catchphrases. There's a rhythm to it. Like
it's also not literally
said that.
Exactly. I wanted to chat through this and unpack this because I think it's like I think it's an interesting idea, but I think it's also important to unpack why it is actually totally different from Wayne's World. And I think that the specificity without it being literally pulled from real life is a very big part of that. So anyway, I just think that's an important thing.
It's also like Wayne's World is a parody, right? Like there's like specific details in it. They film from a basement. Like they're talking about pop culture and rock and roll in this kind of 90s aesthetic. This podcast seems to be a very general podcast where people say nothing. And that's not a form to imitate, that's not a thing to heighten. So it's not really even parodying kind of well. And also then just like structurally, catchphrases go far. Wayne's World. Like those things get stuck in your head. And this thing had none of like, I couldn't really tell you the difference between any of the characters of this sketch, except for Unc, which was a funny joke because he's like 13 or whatever. But no, the Wayne's World has characters, Wayne's World has structure, Wayne's World has specifics.
But there's something unusual in like the base reality of Wayne's World, which is like, what if Burnouts had a cable TV show, right? Like that is that is the unusual thing.
Yeah, I think it was interesting to see it because I can see where somebody might make the argument, but I think it is it's kind of helpful to hear the argument teased apart because it is really. And
also,
really
once Wayne's World was established, the people who would come on would bring something new to the sketch that would break the reality or change the reality in some kind of way.
Yeah. And I think that's possible because it was so specific. So I think that that's a really, again, another great reminder. There's a lot to, honestly, as annoying as wants to see the sketch a second time, there's a lot to take away from the ways that this one kind of doesn't work. So I think it's kind of a useful thing to watch if you're planning to write parodies or that kind of thing. Like I think it's
can't wait to see the Snack Bros movie. Coming soon, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
I wonder if Sabrina Carpenter was like, I love doing that. Let me come back. And they're like, yeah, sure.
I mean, I could see it would be really fun. I could see it would be really fun to perform. I think it's probably really fun to perform.
She's great at it.
She's really good at it. Yeah, she's really, really good at it. I just think it's like not, from a sketch structural standpoint, it's like not the juiciest. All right, should we move on to the next sketch? Okay, so I also just want to add very quickly. So many references, parodies this episode. Like I think there were like at least 6 sketches that were parodies or references. But anyway, this one was Harry Potter It Meets Heated Rivalry. Okay, thumbs up from Madeline. Let's hear it. Oh, whoa, sorry. Apparently on Substack.
No, I can't do that.
Wow. If you aren't watching the video of this, Madeline just did 2 thumbs up and a graphic of fireworks
came up for Maddie's heated love of heated.
It must have been a practical effect that just happened in Madeline's house. All right, talk to us about this sketch, Madeline.
Look, I don't know why it was Harry Potter, other than Finn Wolfhard is a funny Harry Potter. I feel fairly certain that Ben pitched it because he's a great Ron Weasley, and it's topical, and it's Stranger Things, but like fan fiction Harry Potter because it's topical this week, like sure. I feel like sure about it, but I think it was a funny version of that. There were a lot of different beats and angles on it.
Yeah.
As how many times can you make like a broomstick penis joke? Lots of times. Yeah. And they did it. So plenty of variations on the game. It was clear. I chuckled. Sure.
Yeah. How about you, Nico? What are you thinking?
No, I have not seen Heated Rivalry. I mostly know it as a reference. But for something that is a parody, when they say parody should work, even if you haven't seen the thing, they do a good job of defining what it is. Do you know what I mean? So you're not lost if you don't know. And I thought the line that, like, in this Harry Potter, they're all over 18, so don't worry. That
Yeah.
was a funny line.
That was and that's a great example of exploring too, like, in addition to, like, picking your fun, unusual thing, like, thinking about additional things that are true in the world that you're setting up or things that might be true of the world that you're setting up. I also really liked I can't remember what exactly they said, but the way they were framing it as clear like, early on, there was, like, a kind of justification that was, like, clearly indicating the motivation behind it. It was like, "Oh, this other successful TV show, we're doing this." So and I think that that is often at the heart of a good parody of this type, like a kind of framing justification a point of view sort of for why it exists, and I think that
And
that's
that
what
it
makes
also
this
defines what the show is for people who haven't seen it, or the
Yes,
thing is.
totally, totally. I think that's exactly right, and I think it also makes it different from just, like I think there are a lot of times people will write a sketch where, like, it's a kid's thing, but a messed up version of it, and I think that that can be kind of grating sometimes, but having, like, the point of view that actually defines why that's happening is what makes it more interesting. What were you
Oh, and I'm sorry, there was one justification line in this that I thought was really hilarious. It's a show entirely written by girls who wear kale. That was that like who is this for? It's like for the like horny
Yeah,
nerd. It was such a great. I thought that was great. That was good.
yeah.
You 100% could have written this sketch without Heated Rivalry and just been like, it's like fanfic Harry Potter, the new HBO thing. Like, you didn't need Heated Rivalry to make this work. But I do think that this is a type of genre sketch where you're not just taking one thing and parodying it, you're putting two things together. So, like, you're actually bringing two things together to parody. And the way you make those the most successful is you get them to be the most the same at once. So, like, to me, the one of the most successful turns was like, what's more sexy than Quidditch? Because it's like hockey and Harry Potter exactly coming together. And so if you're writing that kind of sketch, the more you can find the exact places they overlap, the funnier it is.
Totally, yeah, I think that feels right. It was it was like a I think it was like a very structurally clean sketch. I've definitely, like, seen other, like, Harry Potter, but it's sex things, but I think that this was, again, like, a topically
It's
made
topical because the people are
version.
horny right now, and they understand the desire for a horny show. Where
There it is.
sometimes, you know what I mean? Like from what I've heard about Heated Rivalry, it's a real like throwback to Skin and Match Days.
Well, I
It's
mean,
like,
Nico, it's a lot more than that while also being that. Yeah.
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 Remember those like it was like what the like there was I feel like there's some kind of like Spartacus or there were like these Rome type shows that were never mind. We don't need to go down this road of the old Skin and Match shows that were debatably porn.
I'll be for the late night version of this. But no, that was I think it was like a very structurally clean, but yeah, just yeah, I think it did a good job of being what it was, what it set out to do. Okay, the next one, I'm very excited to talk about this one. I think this is the I want to go on tour with my indie band one. And I'm excited to talk about this one because I think the ways it didn't work were very, very, very helpful for sketch writing. So before I go into it, I'd love to hear do you anything jump out for you guys in terms of
This would have crushed on Mod.
yeah,
It would have crushed on Mod. It didn't quite work on SNL.
yeah,
I mean I think this one was a great premise, but I
yeah,
think there are several things that could have been switched around to better, more
yeah,
active examples that could have
agreed.
heightened it. So like one thing I think people often say in these sketch classes is like, is this the best location for this sketch to take place in? And it's starting in kind of like a neutral place, like a living room, I feel like was maybe a misstep. Like I would love to see it if this is like, hey, mom, dad, like I'm gonna perform right now. Like, is dad
Mm,
gonna come? No, he's not. But like then we get to see the kid see what the kid's art is versus see what the dad's art is. And it being in a living room, well, first of all, the son never gets a chance to play his sappy music, which would be a great
mhm.
beat to hear either make the audience agree or disagree that the dad is right. Like, you know, but we did get to see some boy band stuff. But I would love to see more active beats of them comparing the musics rather.
Yeah. No, totally. I my main thought with this one was really centered around the reveal. Like, I was just like, oh, this is the beginning. I found like, okay, because you could hear like the initial setup. It's like this very familiar thing of like, mom, I have to tell you, I want to break. I don't want to take the money, go to college. I want to do the indie band thing. So okay, this is like a scene that we know. This is a recognizable scene. Your father's going to be so upset. Oh, here he comes now. I think you can already feel the audience like anticipation, like, okay, what's it gonna be? What's the deal with this dad? Like, and then the dad walks in, and I think that it was this kind of slow rollout reveal where like you almost felt like the audience wanted to laugh, but they still were kind of confused, like because
It
I
felt
thought
like
it was
the
going to be
outfit was supposed to be the reveal, but maybe they
yes.
needed a line on top as well.
I think that's exactly right, and I think that's a very teachable thing because I think the audience they wanted to laugh. It was like, "Ah!" Like, clearly it's not like walking in wearing a business suit. He's not what but, like, what is it? And I think there was, like, maybe a solid 30 or 40 seconds between when he walks in and says it, and you just wanna think about, like, what is the moment that your audience understands what's fun? And if you've spread it out too much or if you've confused them, they're gonna be playing catch up for a little
And
while.
I would also say that, like, again, the location feels weird because, like, oh, the line's like, oh, I don't want to use the money you set aside for college. But if the dad wants him to be a pop boy band, it's like the money I set aside to go to a motel where some man would send me to Korea for 3 months and then I'd come back as a group, right? Like the path to becoming a respectable boy band person is wild, and there are lots of great specifics in that could be queued up, but because it's queued up like he's a businessman, maybe
The
Yeah,
setup was the wrong base reality. I do
completely.
like how serious they played the scene,
Yeah.
and I
Mhm.
did like the idea of the boy band dad being, like, the serious whiskey drinking dad who then does boy band moves, but the base reality start wasn't the right one because it already warped the game before you even knew it.
Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
Yeah.
exactly what Nico said, it's like he wouldn't want him to go to college.
Yeah,
Right.
and there's like, I mean, I'm thinking of Girls Five Ever, which is the funniest show, but like they have such good boy band or girl band specifics, and it's such a wild life. Do you know what I mean? Like by 21, you need to be performing with Britney Spears at a Super Bowl. You don't have time to be at small clubs. But like, what is every reference in the world of how to become a boy band person is an opportunity for a joke that they kind of miss, and then they do some general boy band stuff at the end, but that's not quite the same thing as the path to becoming a boy band
Yeah,
and like how that's
totally.
noble when it sounds like fucking horrific.
Yeah. I do really like the sub game of like, "You look great," whatever her name was. I thought that was very fun. But I do think that I agree. I think that it felt like kind of to the point where I was almost like, maybe they just needed to given the setting, like, maybe it's just, like, a different, more immediately visual, clear reveal. I feel like basically there's
Mhm.
2 different sketches you could get out of this. There's, like, whatever it is where the person walks in and it's clearly visible, like, what it is that they do. And then the other one is just, yeah, like, the one that actually leans into the specific differences between the indie versus the pop star. And I think you're so right, Nico. There are so many fun things that just, like, felt like they kind of got brushed aside. So I think this is a great like, I would love to see another draft of this sketch, basically. This is one that I would love to see another draft of.
Really admired the idea, though.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
I was
cool.
clear
excited for
premise.
it.
It's a clear
Yeah, clear
premise, and
premise.
it's a fun idea because it's like it's fun that it's so like it's surprising that it's like, oh, I don't it's not that it's a businessman, it's not that it's like a clown or like something that's totally different that you're expecting. It's something that's like close but different is interesting. But yeah, I just didn't quite
Yeah, and
hit.
also, yeah, maybe more respectful because I can't imagine anybody, if they were in a boy band, wanting their son to be in a boy band.
Yeah.
Like the
Period.
things that you have to do, and it's like you're expected at certain ages to do. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Anyway,
there were
but they
there
didn't need it. They didn't need that.
yeah.
When I
I
was
think
your
there
age, I was like with a guy. There's a documentary about that. Like it's
yeah, no,
the
I think that's
fucked
exactly
you could do.
right. I think that's exactly right. I think there was a lot of untapped potential for the idea, and I think in part it was I think it kind of was vague, and then, I think there was a lot of, like, kind of vagueness in it. I think that is a shame because again, really funny premise, just didn't quite hit. Um, okay, should we move on to the next one? It's the, Stranger Things spin-off shows. So yeah, I have not watched Stranger Things, so for me, I found that, like, as with many parodies, like, ideally, you want it to be clear what you're referencing. the beats of this, like some of the beats made me laugh because even though I haven't seen it, and some of them I didn't get, and that's fine. What did you guys think? What jumped out to you guys?
There was a line that was like, "There's going to be a spinoff where it's following the dad who's clueless as he just sits and watch TV." I thought that was a fun one. I think it's a fun character. This is one of those things I think the monologue helped with because it's like, yeah, man, you just finished your show. Have a sketch about your show, dude. Let your friends come on. Let your friends come. We want to see all of you. Like it didn't feel. I mean, it felt like maybe the game was about like too much of a franchise or like it becoming the new Star Wars or that like we're just gonna crank this shit out. But it didn't. It felt in that way it felt fine. But I was happy. I was happy for that kid. Those other
Yeah, totally fair. I think that Madeline, you put it really well that like a lot of the key to a good SNL episode is like, does it seem like people are having fun? And it did sort of feel a little bit like a debutante ball for him in a way, where it's like now you are a man, like here you are, you're out. But yeah, I think this one, again, some of the beats I thought were fun. And I thought that they did a nice job setting it up where it's like, we thought, should know when's a good time to call things. And then we realized, whoa, this makes a lot of money or whatever. I can't remember how they said that. That was a bad description of it that I gave. But basically, I think they did a good job setting it up clearly what the deal is. I was just, again, surprised that it was so many kind of like parody sketches in this one. Madeline, anything jump out to you on this one?
Yeah, there were a lot of beats. That's good. Like, yeah. It was for fans. That's fine. I think there's a world where if you're setting, and like I liked the setup of it's so successful, we have to keep cranking them out. You could have heightened more in that direction for like a more specific sketch, which I almost always prefer. But in this case, I think like this was fun fan service, so it was fine to not like be a real sketch nerd about this. It was fun.
Yeah. Totally fair. Awesome. Okay, great. Then next was Weekend Update, and we had 2 guest appearances on Weekend Update. First was Michael Irvin, who I didn't know was a real person until they showed a picture of him, and then I was like, oh, this is much funnier than I thought it was before. It got very fun. The specifics got very funny to me when I realized it was a real person that they were referencing. I did kind of wish that I thought that there could have been more like active beats in this one. The specifics were very funny. Like my mom was a hummingbird. My dad was
a brick of coke or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I like this guy. He's one of the new guys. I can't remember his name, but I like him and I'm rooting for him. This felt like a thing where I also didn't know. I mean, I don't know sports. I don't know what, but like I did. I wish they had introduced him clearer. You know what I mean? And with a headline as a way, so we know like Michael Irvin or whatever, known for blank blank blank, is here with us today. Welcome this guy. I also didn't quite get the age. Should he have been in more like old age makeup? How old is this guy supposed to be? But I think this is one of those like I didn't get the reference, and I think they could have tweaked it. To let more people in on the joke, but I didn't. I like the guy, but I didn't really get it.
I agree. I think that if they had come up with a Weekend Update style joke with a visual of him, and then gone into the character coming in, that I think would have totally.
Yeah, I think those headlines go a long. I think those headlines go a long way, especially when you see a picture like this guy who does this.
Even the pictures made it crystal clear.
Yeah. I really love that this is a picture of me whistling. It was felt like made me actually laugh. It's just like him shouting in someone's face. That was great.
I think that's an example too of like if your audience is confused at all, they're working and not laughing, and like to laugh you have to be relaxed, so you can't let your audience be confused, right? So it's just I was like, is he a coach? Who is he? And then the minute it was answered, it was fun. So don't let your audience be confused.
Yeah. Just a couple little tweaks, and that one would have been even stronger. But it was the specifics were very funny.
Great stand up going around the internet this week about how he's like.
He gets no references on it.
Like old white people, and I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I thought that was a great and very honest set, and I think maybe speaks to like what we're referencing, what we think is universal references, and the need to be quote unquote universal versus more specific. But I thought that was great.
I like appreciated that this was his like issue this week, kind of because that had been what he was talking about.
Oh, I'd love to see that. Okay, send me the link after.
It's very funny. Yeah.
I'd love to watch that. Yeah, awesome. Okay, great. So that was the first character. The second character was the New Year's resolutions buttons buttons lady. I was not familiar with the reference, but I was very amused by this. I thought this was very silly and kind of fun.
Best
Um,
Shane Wick line so far.
yeah, I think so
Mhm.
too.
I think
Yeah.
it's a similar thing where I would have loved to see like the series of tweets, or like if there was a backlash or what, the character be defined a little bit more. They were very charming, and the
Yeah.
buttons don't. See, the line was like,
But
"Don't be playful," which I thought was also funny. A child
don't be
don't be playful.
yeah. It felt really fun. I like the man has a secret, not me. It was very funny. Like a person who refuses to give an answer to the really ambiguous thing they're putting forward. It's like a fun thing to play with. Um I feel like this was the right setting for it, where like you probably would have run out of steam if this were like a 4-page sketch, but that's not what this was. It was a fun little quick thing, and there were a few fun specifics, and then she was out. But I really enjoyed this performance. It really made me laugh. I again, without knowing the source material. So, any other thoughts on this one? Yeah. Okay, great. Awesome. Let's move on. The next one was the Dark Orbit sci-fi showdown with the snack guy.
Oh,
This
yeah.
was I think the best sketch of the night.
I yeah, tell me everything you're thinking about this one. I have some thoughts on this one.
Yeah, when I watch these things, you got your hater teacher glasses on. You're like, what's the game? What's like the what's going to be the fun thing about this? And the fun thing about this is this guy can't speak with shit in his mouth. And Mikey Day is lovingly kind of embarrassing this kid. Mikey Day, this veteran who knows what it's like to be on TV, keeps giving him marshmallows. And there's nothing more than that, right? There's nothing. It's
No.
just like that's a funny act to see on stage. And the fact that it is live in front of millions of people, and you don't want to be an actor eating something, it's just it gets funnier. And then like the bigger things, the roast beast leg. I thought it was it was very stupid, but fun, stupid, and just about like what's fun to see live. With
Also, you didn't need the sci-fi based reality for that.
I kind of liked it because I was like, what am I paying attention to in this sketch? What's the most important thing? Oh, don't worry about it.
It wasn't like there is no sci-fi trope of person.
No, there isn't. It's not. It's not a parody of a sci-fi show. The sci-fi show is just like this is what normalcy would be a sci-fi show, and then like it's being broken by whatever.
But it was fine because it gave a like they were talking about like enslaving their peoples or whatever.
Right. It gives us a base reality.
An excuse for a funny wig, a couple funny wigs. So that was fine. This one is one of those ones where like, yeah, all the elements came together and it was clear enough that they were having fun and it came out real funny.
Yeah, this is what I want to follow under. Maybe don't try this yourself. Forcing the audience to watch you eat marshmallows may not be enough to carry you, but it carries this moment in a good way.
My only note, I have 2 notes for this one. My first is that like I found the marshmallows were so funny, and then I think that the second thing was like I think the specifics were less funny. Like I think that my notes would have been like, but actually, what gets like harder to like what would be harder and harder to eat as you went along, and is there a way for like and it's not to move the marshmallow beat later, it's just like challenge yourself to find something weirder and more complicated.
I could have done all marshmallows and challenge yourself to find new ways for Mikey Day to get them in his mouth.
Yes. And then I also think I think that if you were going the all marshmallow route, which I agree you absolutely could do because it's really fun, then I think the challenge would be you just want to dial up the point of view of the other characters to like keep it interesting. But yeah, I think that I just was sad in the marshmallows.
I think these notes are not applicable to this sketch. I think we got to be thinking about this like a Nickelodeon GAC type show, where it's like what substance would be the worst thing to put in your mouth in front of millions of people.
But
and like that's what's driving this. Not necessarily like I don't want nothing from these other characters. I think
that by the GAC logic, like it's not like the first thing that falls on you is GAC, and then the second thing is like pig's blood, and the third thing is like nails. It's like it's just GAC all the time. So that I think is in a way like I think
interesting rebuttal. Interesting rebuttal.
Yeah, the big meat leg wasn't a good beat.
No,
it's like
I love that meat leg. Hard disagree. I love that meat leg.
Here's the thing: the meat leg. There was not. If I agree with you, Nico, that the fun was watching him struggle to eat it and continue to be in the scene. And to me, the meat leg was just like, oh, that's not the fun. Is because we're not
Right,
going to
but
see him try.
that was a late beat where they just wanted to pass another visual thing off very
Yes,
quickly.
that's fair. But anyway, I think that this one was really fun and goofy and silly. I think that it's just there just could have been a little bit either going in
Just don't
harder.
try to write the sketch yourself. You're not going to recreate this moment. This is a very fun moment that is kind of metatextual in that fun Saturday Night Live kind of way.
Mikey Day does not break, and he was breaking. And I think Chloe was fully laughing off camera.
I feel like I was wondering, like, if like maybe Finn Wolfhard was like, I think it's going to be a funny idea, and Mikey Day's character was like, no, you have to keep doing this. If this is the sketch, then you have to keep doing this.
Yeah, it was. I really do like the character just putting marshmallows in the guy's mouth. It's just really fun. I was sad when we moved away from that beat, and then when they got to the Hershey bottle, I was like, this is doing nothing. That's doing nothing. Give me back those marshmallows. All right, awesome. Should we go to the next one? We have 2 more sketches. So we have the next one is Boys Day. So yeah, Madeline, tell me about that.
I want Veronica Slowikowska to succeed.
Yeah.
There was a lot of fun energy in this big character sketch for her, but it simply wasn't specific enough.
Yeah.
She wasn't playing one thing. She wasn't being broy. Ben labeled it as gross, but she wasn't really being gross. Like, it's very hard to pin down exactly what it was, and nobody did it, and so she could never fully play whatever it was she had in her mind, and I'm still not sure what it was.
Yeah, at one point they said, like, she's like one of the guys was like what her but anyway, yeah, Nico, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, I think Madeline's exactly right. There's not a clear definition of what one of the guys means or like that type. Because there's several, and she makes these weird noises. She's got a bunch of catchphrases. She's like doing practical. The thing that did make me laugh was when one of the boys was talking about something serious, and then she calls him a bitch and shotguns a beer. I think that was very funny. But like, if that's her deal, then all the boys have to be talking about something serious for her to then just like broily embarrass them while doing something extra guy. Or if it was, she's got these catchphrases, then she's like, what's the deal with your girl and these catchphrases? Or what? There's like lots of it. Yeah, it was an unspecified why she's strange, other than her just being like, weird.
Right, because it's like, it was like, is she trying to outbro the bros? Is it like whatever it is, I think could have been clarified because there's so many voice of reason characters in the sketch. So I think a voice of reason character often can serve the purpose of like labeling and pushing more specificity out. And neither of those things really happened. As Madeline said, it was sort of just being relabeled and never becoming clear. But as you said, a lot of energy. But I just I just want to see her. I really want to see like a good vehicle for her, and I don't feel like we've seen that yet. And I
the
hope
washing machine with Sabrina Carpenter.
Yes,
the closest.
The closest.
I also think that like being one of the guys is a tired trope at this point. That
totally.
like doesn't like that's also not a good base reality in 2026 because that isn't what is that to whom. And that
right. The boys, we also didn't get a sense of what type of boys these are. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like the boys are watching the game or like the boys are playing sports or the boys are doing a board game for them to like, for her to interrupt. So there's not a clear sense of what does it mean to be a boy.
Weird boys doing boy day, which is kind of funny on its own. And then at some point they were like, let's watch the game. And I was like, I didn't think you guys were watching TV so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that was all a little mushy.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I guess it's both her unusual thing and just what normalcy is vague.
Yeah. Just not the most and I think that the premise was sort of like inherently flawed, and so there's only so much you can do to like kind of rescue it, I guess, basically, or like make it actually fun. Because then I think the premise was flawed because it lacked specificity, and usually in a flawed premise, the thing that can kind of save it on a moment by moment basis is specifics. But by definition, this did not have specifics because it lacked specificity. So anyway, it was sort of I think again, one to learn from, but I think not a strong sketch for sure. And I think maybe one of the weakest. And then we'll go on to the last sketch of the night, This was the Netflix climbing the Taipei 101, the tower, documentary with Keenan as Reggie, a guy who's never climbed before but is just kind of going to do it. What did you guys think about this one?
I thought Reggie was funny. It made me laugh. I thought the heightening was fun, that he's got a broken leg, that this guy just decided he didn't want to live anymore because they canceled some White Castle thing. Like, I felt like all the details about Reggie were fun. I wonder if it should have just been Reggie. You know, and I don't know what I gained from having the real guy they're parodying in there. I guess it shows a sense of stakes. It shows like what the real guy's doing versus this. But I think we could have established, like, you've heard about the free solo challenge on Taipei. Now Reggie's doing it. I don't know that he's the other guy. I feel like Reggie made me laugh, and there could have
I
been
think
some
that's so right.
That's so right, because I kept getting caught up of, like, why are they apart in the, like, I felt that there was something weird about how Mikey Day's guy wasn't acknowledging him for so long, and they were filmed separately, and why that was happening, and how the special, like, my mind just started trying to figure it out. And you're right, Nico, if it had just been like, here's this serious thing, now here's Reggie, it would have been much better.
Right. Like, you heard Netflix is doing a free solo on Taipei. Well, Tubi is doing this on blank with this guy.
Yeah, I think that's so right, because you would have had also so much more real estate to like play with that character and the specifics. So the specifics that were there were funny, but just so much real estate went to the other guy. I also was kind of curious about this one because it sort of felt like a little stuck midway between being a pre-taped sketch and a not really milking being a live sketch. So I could imagine sort of two versions of it. One that's sort of like more of the pre-taped like documentary thing, but as Nico said, that just focuses on Reggie, like from the people who brought you Free Soul or whatever, and then we go into Reggie. But I could also imagine a version of this where this is just the guy who's like where we're just watching either like an interview with the guy who's going to do it, or just like some sort of live scene of the person who's being interviewed before they or something like that. Like, I think that it just felt to me a little stagnant given that it's Saturday Night Live that has the ability to do videos or like really lean into live things. It felt like a little murky structurally to me, or not structurally in terms of how it's playing out, I guess. Yeah. Other thoughts on this one? Yeah, it was kind of as usual, kind of a funny one to end on. Not as like a really fun character, just like not the biggest not the biggest swing, I would say, for the last sketch of the night. But really fun. And that brings us to the end of this episode. Kind of a strange one. I think it's actually also funny that with all the references that came up that were kind of mystifying to me, that this was the one sketch where they're like, we have to make sure that they understand what the mountain climbing show is, or the movie is. It's pretty funny. But awesome. Before we go, I would love to hear if there's anything that you guys would like to plug. Madeline, you go first. Anything you'd like to plug?
Yes, everyone. I do writing coaching. If you need any help, like cracking a story, or you want to like talk through something, I have very affordable writing coaching. You should hit me up. I'd love to help you with your story.
And I would just
Madeline
say that
gives
Madeline
the best notes. Yeah, me and Marina, anytime we write something, we ask what Madeline thinks about it.
Absolutely. Madelaine's the first person we email to be like, please look at this script, please. Madeleine's
Why did you
amazing.
get fireworks before?
Yeah, how did...
Was that literally Heated Rivalry?
Yeah, maybe it's just like a brand tie-in for Heated Rivalry. When you get horned up for Heated Rivalry, there's fireworks.
It can tell your heart isn't really in it. Nico, anything that you would like to plug?
I don't know when people are gonna listen to this, but if you're listening to this on Monday evening, it's the best of Mod Night in New York City, 7 p.m. Come to the UCB. Find My Friends, a team I direct, is going to have their best of show. I think these guys are so funny and so great. And if you're in New York City, you want to check out some sketch comedy, Mod Night, 7 p.m. on Monday. That is the 19th. If you listen to this on the 20th, I've got
January.
nothing for you.
No, actually you do. I'm going to do a plug because Nico
thank you. Sorry, Marina. You're so much better at our business.
No.
No, this is an important thing to plug.
Nico plugged a team that he's not writing on.
I'm going to also plug, Nico and I wrote a feature film with many really wonderful people from the New York comedy scene, and it is going to be in the New York Comedy Film Festival on February 18th and 19th. February 18th and 19th. It's called This Will Never Work, and it stars many people whose faces you will recognize from Veep, from Broadway, from late night shows, from all sorts of places. But it is a feature film that we wrote and that we made, and we couldn't have done it without the comedy community in New York. And we would love for you to see it. So again, buy your tickets, the New York Comedy Film Festival, February 18th and February 19th. This Will Never Work.
Also, if you're in San Francisco, I don't know where your listenership is.
Yeah, great point.
San Francisco, February 5th. It's screening as the San Francisco.
February 7th. February 7th.
February 7th. It is critical for my future that I kept these dates right. And I tell people about this shit, but I can never remember.
Do you book a flight? Do you have plane tickets? Do you have the plane?
I'll book me a flight very nicely.
Okay.
And I do have a place to stay.
Great. Great.
Amazing. All right. Well, guys, this was so much fun. Thank you for chatting through this with me. I find it so interesting to talk through these episodes in this kind of like sketch teachery brain. I think that there is so much there are a lot of things you can say about Saturday Night Live, but there's also so many things you could say about sketches that are just publicly available for people to watch and learn from. And I really appreciate chatting through it with you guys because I think it's really helpful to do. So thank you guys so much. And thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you for having me. So fun.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. This was such a blast. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.